When did you realize your friends weren't actually your friends? When you don't get invited anywhere. And no one wants to hang out with you after inviting them places. But then they expect you to bend over backwards and help them when they need it. Fuck that. When everyone decided to be sheep and follow the leader, after that I've decided being a loner was funner. When he literally ghosted me. Was supposed to be coming round to my place for video games and shooting the breeze. 6:30 he texts me saying that he'll be there about 7:15. He lives one street over, but at 7:30. He didn't show up. Text him a few times. Called him. Nothing. Literally nothing again. Ever. 8 months later I ran into him in the street. He goes, "Oh yeah. One of the guys showed up at my door and asked if I wanted to go clubbing, and I did." Now. If he'd text me saying that he'd got an offer to go out, I wouldn't have cared. It was a "we've got nothing on" type night, and I don't drink and hate clubs. So I wouldn't have been asking to join. That was also when I realized that I was always the one going, "Do you want to?" He never suggested anything that I was invited to. But no, he just ghosted me entirely for 8 months rather than explain himself. Haven't seen or spoken to him in about 15 years at this point. Thankfully I met some much better people later, and now I'm asked if I want to do things. Rather than having to be the pure driving force on any meeting. When I moved and no one ever visited me or called when I had kids, and never invited me to their weddings, and if I was sat at the random table. Though we were super tight, but I was just a random to them. When he told me that it was okay for me to make a sexual advance on him and that he wouldn't stop me. He also knew that I had just broken up with someone months ago. He called days later with a friend to shout at me over the speaker that I was using him and was a whore. So much for trying to reunite with a childhood friend. This happened when I was about 11 or 12. I had a Louis Vuitton belt that I got as a gift. I wasn't very street smart back then and would wear the belt a lot. I live in the hood. So basically one of my so-called friends was at my house and is like, "Prove the shit is real." So I'm trying to protect my honor, because if you wear fake shit, the entire hood will remember you for that. So I show him it's real. He's like, "Oh shit." He's like, "Let's go on a walk right quick." So I walk with my belt still on, and we walk for about 10 minutes. My area was hood. But we were walking into the worst of the worst hoods. My mom always told me to stay away from there because of how dangerous it was. Like beat down buildings and graffiti on every building. So when we are walking, a car pulls up fast and 3 grown men hop out. After I realized what had been going on, I tried to run. But I can't outrun grown-ass men, and they catch me and beat me up. They didn't beat me up as bad as I thought they would, but still bad because I was still bleeding. They take the belt and run off with my belt. The kid went into the car with them. Now I had to go home and act like nothing happened and try to hide it from my mom. But my mom's knew and she called the police. They take like 2 hours to come and stay there for 5 minutes. So anyway, about 3 weeks pass and I was going to the corner store and I walk in and I see him. I run at him and get him in a chokehold and take him to the ground. I probably would have killed him if the store owner, whom I'm friends with my dad, stopped me from killing him. After that, I heard he moved to like Los Angeles or something. TLDR, I got jumped and got my Louis Vuitton belt stolen and beat the kid's ass a couple weeks later. When we started dating. When you need help, so you start writing him a message. Then see 3 unanswered messages from you asking for his helps. And right above a conversation of you helping him out for hours on stupid shits. When they spike your drink and leave you to die on the curb. Fuck Reddit. This is some sad shit. Was talking to her during class and she just says, "Why don't you have other friends?" It was terrible. Especially since this guy behind us just froze at her comment and stared at us to see what happens next. This happens to me way too often. I find the easiest way is to stop being the first to text. If they really care about you as a friend, they should at some point text and say all good. My hardest ever realization was my research buddy. We would do so much together. I picked her up in the mornings on the way to the lab. We would go with each other to do field work. Go to lunch or dinner together all the time. She came to my wedding. My husband and I helped her escape an abusive relationship. Then after she left that guy and suddenly had this newfound freedom. She felt that as a married woman, I would be a wet blanket on fun. So she cut me out of her life. Encouraged my other university friends to do the same. I ended up leaving my PhD, and this was a small reason behind it. I actually went and fetched my stuff in the middle of the night so that I wouldn't have to see anyone in the lab. When they act different when we're with other people. They kept teasing me for fun. Mom got cancer and I had to come home and drop out of college to help the family. Said I might need some emotional support etc. and got ghosted the next day. Real shitty part is I helped one of them with their grandmother's cancer and brother's attempted suicide. My best friend shamed me for not going to a beer tasting event during the pandemic in a national COVID hotspot. He then said I had a better chance of dying in a car accident. He told me this 5 years and 2 months after my daughter was killed by a drunk driver in a head-on collision. Crazy. But when a very toxic ex-GF made note that they weren't my friends, I didn't listen. After recovering from that horrible breakup, I met/started dating/quarantining with a really nice lady. Friends I fed, partied with and traveled with were jealous and would start picking me apart in front of said lady. End of the story is everyone is gone now. Should have listened to toxic GF. 1/10 would not repeat. When I was sent death threats from 2 of my friends in grade 7 telling me to kill myself. That they would kill my family while we slept. Found out years later they did it because I was weird. And most recently because she couldn't keep track of her lies. When they all left me behind and kept living their lives. Too late to comment, but someone sometime may read this. You'll realize in life that you start off with a lot of friends and as you get older that number nimbles down to 2 to 3 people. I don't live in the same city I grew up in. My friends and I can spend weeks, months without talking to each other, but I know they feel the same way, and most of our conversations are updates and quick 4 to 5 messages and then silence. The hard emotional part is going from that 10 friends you thought you had down to the 2 to 3 you will have going forward. Everyone goes through this. You will naturally shed off most of them. They were toxic, and as you grew into someone else so did they. People mature at different rates and have different life cycles. You're doing fine. Thank you kind stranger for the gold. When they were unable to congratulate you on your achievements, and instead express how they could do it too or do it better. When they choose to talk poorly of you when you aren't present. You should always want what's best for your people. If seeing them succeed, grow, and accomplish makes you want to tear them down, you likely require some self-reflection. Unless I messaged them. They never message me. AMD don't care about me. Only if they need something. When I got sober. When I didn't feel comfortable bringing my girlfriend around them. Whenever one of the guys bring their girlfriends around, there are a couple of guys in the group who would try their best to belittle/insult the guy. Then hit on her. I still didn't stop hanging out with them because, well, I was 16 and didn't know better. I lost touch with them right after high school ended. And didn't speak to them until years later. I finally realized they were losers when I was 25 when we reconnected. I kept in touch with 2 of the guys in the group who were somewhat normal people. Let's call them John and Tony. John was getting married and all the high school guys were invited. We were doing a bachelor party in Vegas. We had a ton of things planned. Good restaurants. Renting dirt bikes. Going to the shooting range. Hitting the strip club. Pool parties. And catching some shows. The 4 other guys who came, they refused to come to the restaurants and only stayed at the hotel diner. They didn't feel like going that far. Are you fucking kidding me? This isn't about you. This is John's bachelor party. So of course, we ended up just eating at the hotel restaurant, getting burgers and chicken strips and shit for the entire first day. We went to get dirt bikes, but 2 of the guys wanted to just go gamble in the casino instead and stayed behind at the hotel. Long story short, after the first day, Tony and I just said alright. Fuck these guys. Let's just have a great weekend with John and celebrate. We did the dirt bikes. Fucking awesome. Shooting range was awesome. Strip club was fun, but we stayed for an hour because it was just for the lols. The 4 guys came and stayed all night even though we left. We had a blast getting a cabana at the pool party and hung out with other people we met instead of our high school friends. Those guys stayed at the hotel for the entire weekend, eating at the same fucking diner every single meal. Oh, and they Venmo requested John for the Uber rides. I haven't talked to them in years. And I don't ever plan to. Unfortunately. John and Tony still keeps in touch with them. So I might still see them in the future. When my best friend had sex with my dad on a night meant to celebrate my college admission. Also confirmed how foo-ed my dad was and how little he cared about his kids. When I realized I had a crazy high standard for what a friend was supposed to be and understood no reasonably self-involved individual could ever live up to that. Friends are now just human beings that currently enjoy my company due to mutual hobbies/interests and are under no obligation to do anything more than that. I have so many friends now. After I quit being pro sportsman and I wasn't cool to know anymore. When I told them I was detoxing and cleaning up on taking drugs. And they proceeded to offer me more drugs. Take them in front of me and egg me on to take more. When I left. That was the last time they spoke to me. Edit, this was a few years ago now, around 3/4 years at the moment. You all are amazing. I hope that if anyone is dealing with similar issues, that they can use some of the advice here or feel free to drop me a message. Thanks for watching.